morning. Good morning. Happy Friday and happy day 2 of canning. So, I'm just getting kind of started. It's really early. I don't know if you can see out there, but it is dark. It is storming pretty bad. I have one kid in my bed, and I don't think you can hear the thunder over my dehydrator. But my favorite days to can are dark, gloomy, rainy, stormy days. So this is like, it's like a good luck sign for me. All right, so I'm starting the day, you know, with some coffee, because quite frankly, we need some coffee. And I also did not get my workout in yet. Usually I do my workout before I do anything else. I drink ice water and then I will do a workout and then I start my day. But today I kind of figured, oh, I think canning is going to be my workout. So I will, since I can't go outside and walk later, I will get on my bike. Today is a rest day from Pilates and weights. So that's good. And today's also Fun Friday in our homeschool, which means we spend the day doing crafts, we spend the day doing craft projects. So it's arts and crafts in educational games. My kids love Fun Friday. So that falls in line with a nice productive canning day. So today we are canning tomatoes, and I'm gonna just, while my coffee is a-brewing, I'm gonna bring you over to my sauce. Okay, so let me stir this up here. What I was able to do this morning, well, last night I was hoping that I could transfer everything from my Instant Pot into here. I was able to do everything but maybe a quart. So I did have to keep my Instant Pot running on warm last night. But this morning, as you can see, it has reduced beautifully. And I was able to put all of the Instant Pot inside of here. So, man, if I can get, if I could get 1.5 dozen quart jars out of this, I'm going to be a happy mama. Between that and then I'm going to bring you over here and I'm going to show you, well, let me see if I can pop on a light. The smoked ham stock. My friend Paul hit me up this morning and said, it must smell incredible in your house this morning. I said, it smells like it smells like Grandma Bacalone's house. My ex-husband was Italian and his grandma came right from Italy, northern Italy. And if I could bottle her scent, my house would smell like it. Okay, so I have my coffee, found my lid, and I tried giving up coffee, guys. I can't do it. So I allow myself 1 cup of coffee in the morning. So I'm gonna have a cup of coffee. I'm going to get some dishes done. I have some lids and the Instant Pot insert to wash up at the sink. I do have my jars out, so these are gonna go in hot soapy water, because even though they go on my shelf clean and I keep them upside down, I still like to clean them one more time. And if I sound out of breath today, I do apologize. I do have asthma, and today, because of the 100% humidity, it's a high asthma day for me. So I'm gonna get those in hot soapy water. Now I am pressure canning my tomatoes, so it's totally up to you. A lot of people water bath can them. Do your own research though. Everybody has their different way of doing it. For me and my family, I just feel safer putting them in a pressure canner. Now, that does mean it's a lot longer of a process. But today, because it's kind of an easy day here, I've got the time. So I'm gonna do it. So part of me explaining that to you is for those of you who are new and are going to be marathoning or setting up your canning day. Make sure that you schedule out that time. Now, last night I went grocery shopping, so I didn't have to do it tonight. Usually we go grocery shopping on Friday nights. So I got that done and out of the way so I can dedicate my whole day to my canning. So that's just a little tip from me to you of how I do it. I make sure that I schedule out that whole block so that I have the time and I'm not rushing, because the one thing you don't want to do in canning is rush through it. First and foremost, because canning is therapy and it's enjoyable, but secondly, you just don't want to rush the process. This is so important, and it's a science. So you want to make sure that you schedule out the time, the block of time that it needs to do it properly and safely, okay? So with that, I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to drink some coffee, and I'll be back. Okay, for noise control purposes, I'm going to shut off my dehydrator for the moment. And I'm going to throw my hat in the ring to the great tomato debate, should we call it that? I'm just going to explain to you quickly why I'm canning it the way that I'm canning it. You can your tomatoes the way you are comfortable canning them, okay? You don't have to follow me. I am choosing to pressure can my tomatoes. I am also choosing to add citric acid to my tomatoes. You can add lemon juice. Personally, for me, adding lemon juice to my tomatoes, the thought of, like, you know, lemonade tomatoes is just disgusting to me, so I wouldn't use lemonade. I also wouldn't use vinegar. Vinegar is another option. I don't know how that would even taste. So I turned on that light too. Hopefully you can see me better. Okay, so I'm choosing to add citric acid. I am also choosing to pressure can and not water bath can. I know some people who don't can their tomatoes at all. And there is a great lady here on YouTube. She's an older Italian lady. She did a mass quantity of tomatoes. It was a beautiful thing. She has a canning kitchen, I think, in her basement with 2 stoves, and she steps on a stool. Mama something. I can't remember the name of her channel, but she doesn't can her tomatoes at all. So I think she puts the lid on and flips them upside down and puts a blanket over them, I think. So look, do what you're gonna do. I'm gonna explain to you why I'm doing it the way that I'm doing it. For me, I cannot test the tomatoes, and in my logic, every tomato would be different, right? Every species of tomato would be a little different. I'm using San Marzano and Roma tomatoes. Those are more of a plum tomato. Versus I have a girlfriend who only cans beefsteak tomatoes. I would think that the acidity level would depend on what kind of tomato you're canning, right? So for me, since I can't test the acidity level of my tomatoes, I can't be sure that the acid is correct. Now, technically, pressure canning them, you should be able to do it without any acid, right? I wish they would test it. Now, they recommend you add acid because, quite frankly, they haven't done the testing. It's not because they've done the testing and they found it not safe. It's because there's not a lot of money into testing canning. And I believe they only do it once every 7 years. So they only have a certain amount of funds and a certain amount of tests that they're able to afford to do. All right. So I don't know. In my opinion, adding citric acid, there's like no flavor to this. So it doesn't hurt to add it. For that extra step of safety, I might as well add it. I have it on hand. In fact, I have 2 big jars of it. So why not add it? Why not use it? Doesn't affect the taste, unlike lemon juice would. And then I'm guaranteed that whatever kind of acid level my tomatoes have, they should be good to go when I add this. It's a peace of mind for me. So just like pressure canning versus water bath canning, I personally, because tomatoes are a neutral pH, I personally, even with adding acid, like I said, I don't know the exact acid level of my tomatoes, I just don't feel safe water bath canning them. So I'm gonna pressure can them with acid. And that's my reasoning behind it. I wanna make sure that when I'm getting my jar of tomatoes off the shelf, I know 100% they are safe. And I don't have to double think myself. I don't have to question it. I'm not getting anyone sick. It's what's best for me and my family. You do your own research. You make up your own mind. That is my reasoning behind it. I know there's quite a debate about it. To add acid, to not add acid. To water bath can, to not water bath can. To pressure can, to not pressure can. So that's why I'm doing it. Pressure canning with acid. All right, so before I add my tomato sauce, I am adding a half a teaspoon of citric acid in each jar. All right, and then my ladle spoon broke, so I need to get a new one at Walmart. I know I get questioned a lot about my my ladle. It is, I believe, Progressive brand. I don't know if they changed the name of that brand or not, but I know it as Progressive, and they sell it at Walmart. They also sell it on Amazon. I will try to leave a link to it down below if I can find one. Sometimes you can find them, sometimes you can't. I think the new color now is red and not purple. So, all right, we are canning this to 1 inch headspace. And then technically you probably wouldn't have to debubble this because there are no chunks in this sauce. But I'm going to debubble anyway because, you know, an extra step to guarantee that they're beautiful is worth it to me. So I'm going to keep going here and filling up these jars. All right, hopefully you guys can see a little bit better. So I do have a little dish here of vinegar. I'm just going to wipe the top off. Now this is a hot jar, so I made sure that I filled my canner with hot water. Okay, hot jars, hot water, cool jars or room temperature jars, room temperature water in your canner. And There we go. Oh, I hope you guys can see that. I know the lighting's so bad in my house because it's storming out. Oh, they're beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. My lids and rings go in super hot water. I do not boil the water. Don't want to damage them. But I do have better success when I heat up that compound on the lid than if I just put the jars straight on. So I always warm it up with some hot water. So there we have it. Look at that. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Oh, happiness in a jar. Enjoy the process of canning, you guys. This is doing good works right here. This is good works. This is good works for your family. This is pure love. I know it's just tomatoes. There's actually a lot of time, a lot of love in this jar. Right from germinating these seeds to growing my little seedlings to planting them, harvesting them, processing them, and putting them up on a shelf. Oh, I did want to say that I did take an immersion blender to this late last night. It was probably around midnight or something that I took an immersion blender to this. So these are nice, and you know, it's really just tomatoes, crushed tomatoes, almost pulverized tomatoes. So look at that. Oh, I'm so excited, you guys. Right, our first batch is in the canner, so I'm going to go ahead and lock down this lid and begin to process our first batch of tomatoes. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on my canner, and when I bring this up to pressure, and after I vent my canner for 10 minutes, I'm going to put the weight on, bring it up to pressure. This is going to process for 20 minutes, and then I'll let it come off of pressure, and when I crack open the lid, I will show you. And then in the meantime, as this comes off of pressure, I will wash the next 7 jars. I really don't like to wash everything until I'm actually going to use it. That way it's not sitting out. There's, you know, nothing in the air that's going to fly in my jars or anything like that. So I just like to do it as I go. So I'm going to process these, and when I bring them out of the canner, I will bring you back and show you what they look like. All right, we are jiggling, so 20 minutes there. I always set a backup timer because, well, let's not get into why, but let's just say it's always better to be safe than sorry. So 2 timers going, 20 minutes, and then these will be done. So we are at 11 o'clock, and this is done processing. It's now coming off of pressure. So while this is coming down off of pressure, I'm going to go ahead and wash up more jars, start getting them filled, and we'll get them in the canner. One of the questions, okay, hold on. Okay, don't fall out of my cabinet. All right, so a couple questions that I got. One, about my tomatoes. Yes, I did them frozen when the peel just kind of fell off. I know some of you didn't know that trick. I didn't know that trick. A lot of people told me, hey, they'll fall right off. They really did fall right out of their skin. They basically jumped out of the skin. So if you're processing tomatoes, and a lot of them like I did, you might want to freeze them. I froze mine because my tomatoes were coming in like waves, and I didn't have enough to do a big enough batch, I felt. So I just would harvest them, wash them, take the stems off of them, and then put them in gallon-sized freezer bags and stuffed them in my deep freeze. So I started with frozen tomatoes. Another thing that I was asked was when you reuse your canner, so when we're doing a second batch like we're about to do you reuse the water inside? Yes, except it's going to be down a bit. we'll measure it together, but it usually is down about 1 inch. So we probably have 2 inches of water in there. Technically, I could probably run a canner load, again, because we're only processing for 20 minutes versus if I was doing like beans or meat for an hour and a half. But I fill it back up to 3 inches of water, just to be safe. And I don't add any more vinegar though to it, because quite frankly, if you keep adding vinegar, you might really get some oxidization on your rings, and it's kind of a fine balance when you're pressure canning, if you're dealing with well water like I am, which is really hard. So I think that's it. Trying to answer questions as I go here. So I'm going to let that come off of pressure. I'm going to get 7 more jars cleaned up, get them over there, get them filled, get the lids on. I always wash my lids and rings. I don't use them out of the box. I don't know what's in the box. I don't feel comfortable putting, you know, taking rings out, lids out of a box and then putting them on my jars. I wash them in hot soapy vinegar water, and then I put them in hot water so that that compound can soften a little bit. At least 5-10 minutes is a good time frame to soften that compound, and then I put them on my jars. So I think that's it. If you guys have any questions as I'm going through this, just leave them down below for me, and then I'll answer them tomorrow when we can up the stock. So, all right, I'm gonna get busy here. Here they are, and the headspace looks beautiful. Oh, so good. Clean canning water, woo, a little steamy. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over here and get my Pokey gel. Let me rinse it off a little bit. Okay, and like I said, we're down, I don't know if you can see that, but we're down about 1 inch, which is usually totally normal. So I'm gonna just get a couple of cups of water, bring it back up to 3 inches. And then I'm gonna put the next batch in. And then once that processes and comes down off of pressure, I will can up the rest of those and we'll get those in the canner. Now we're gonna do some pints, which means 1/4 teaspoon of citric acid in my jars, but I'm not gonna put, I'm not gonna fill my jars. I'm gonna do one by one because I'm really not sure how many jars I'm gonna be able to fill here. And we're gonna do the last of the sauce, and then I will bring you back when I pull the other ones out of the canner, because my canner right now is just kind of resting and it's pretty cold here today. So I don't want to shock my jars. So what I do is I just crack my lid. I let them kind of come off of that temperature slowly, kind of shield it a little bit, so that I keep my headspace. I don't want any siphoning. So All right, I'm gonna start filling these jars up, and I'll bring you back and show you how many pints I'm actually able to get out of this. This is gonna be the last round. Okay. Ooh, we've got popping. We've got popping. All right, so pull these beautiful jars out. In, and I just wanted to show you, we just about used it all. Alright guys, and there you have it, the last of it out of the canner. So I got 14 quarts and 7 pints. I'm so happy. It is 3:30 now in the afternoon. We were able to run 3 canning sessions, and I've got everything cleaned up. You can see my water is pretty clear, and I got this all washed up, so I just need to pack this back away. Got the kitchen going. Those are looking pretty good. Some areas are still a little sticky though, so we're gonna wait till tomorrow. I figured those would be ready tomorrow to put into the Vitamix. But there we go, guys. Look at that. And we did it together. Thanks for hanging out with me. That was fun. I wish I could bottle up the feeling, the joy, the absolute joy that I feel in my heart right now, because I was able to grow these tomatoes from germinating them out of their seed. It's been a long process. It's been since March I've been working on these tomatoes. I germinated them, planted the seeds, replanted the seedlings, then built the garden and planted them in the ground, and I've been caring for them all summer, and this feeling of absolute joy and gratefulness is just overwhelming me right now. And I'm just, oh my gosh, I wish I could bottle the feeling. I really do. So these are the prettiest jars I've ever seen. They have a lot of love bottled inside of them. And I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me while I canned these up and put them in jars. So this is day 2. Day 3 we'll be canning this glorious smoked ham stock tomorrow, and doing that tomato powder in the Vitamix. So I hope you come back tomorrow and hang out with me. I really hope you enjoyed this and you're enjoying this little series I'm doing. And thanks for hanging out with me. This was fun. All right, guys, with that, I'm gonna clean up my canner, and yet get ready to start making dinner pretty soon. I think we're doing pizza tonight. So, all right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow.